Hey guys, what's up? It is Matt Lane, and in today's episode we're going to be taking a look at how to handle the Darkbeast Paarl. Personally, I don't really find this boss very difficult. I think the biggest actual battle in this fight is with the camera angles as opposed to the actual boss himself. But all these videos are for those who are having trouble defeating each individual boss. That being said, let's take a look at some tips and tricks of how to handle this fight. For starters, this is actually a boss that I recommend you use different attire for. The specific set you want to look for is known as the Henrik set. The reason you want to use this set is because it has almost the highest, if not the highest, resistance to bolt out of any set in the entire game. There are multiple ways you can get this set, the easy of which is just to follow Eileen's quest line, which should lead you straight to it without any problems. Once you arrive to the boss area, just go ahead and change into each individual piece of that attire to get the entire set on top. That way you have the most bolt resistance you can possibly have. And then go ahead and take a bow because dang, we look good. Yay! As with every boss in this game, if you are playing online as opposed to offline, you will have an in-game NPC that you can summon if you're having a lot of issues and need a little assistance. Since I haven't mentioned this yet, I just want to go ahead and lay on the record that if you do summon the NPC, you are not just absolutely stuck with it. There's an item called a silencing blank that you can use to end both cooperation with people online and in-game NPCs. So if for whatever reason you accidentally summon an NPC, just use a silencing blank and it'll send them back to wherever they came from. As far as items to use for this boss, the only one you necessarily need is fire paper. As we've seen with a few bosses already, beasts are always weak to fire. And this boss being a beast, it leaves no exception here. Now, I myself use a beast blood pellet with this boss. If you're going to use this item though, there are two things you kind of need to have. One of which is your vitality needs to be at a fairly high amount, so that when you're taking that extra damage, it helps to counteract that a little bit. And the second thing is to be able to dodge fairly well, so that you don't take that extra damage most of the time anyways. That's enough for preparation, so let's go ahead and talk about strategies for fighting this boss. This fight for me is very similar to Vicar Amelia in the fact that you go for the boss's limbs and get some viscerals out of it. Except actually this boss is even easier than Vicar Amelia to me because each leg can be staggered more than one time, which is not the case with Vicar Amelia. Honestly, the hardest part of this boss fight is the camera angles rather than the actual boss. There will be many times where it's really hard to see and you really can't even tell what exactly is going on. It's a combination of the boss being taller than you to where he hovers over you and the constant electricity kind of going everywhere doesn't really help matters. All you really need to do is get very close to him, focus on one limb and hit it as many times as you can to initiate a visceral. If you can get the visceral, go for it, but if not, just keep wailing on him. As I said earlier, you can stack the damage on this leg, so if you wanted to, you could just focus on one leg the entire time and you would still succeed. Really, the only difficult part other than the camera angles, as stated earlier, is getting him down the first time. If you can get him down that first time to where you initiate the visceral, you can pretty much just dominate him for the rest of the fight. Because this boss really won't do a whole lot of attacks while his electricity is down. Instead, he'll try to get far away from you so that he can initiate his electric attacks again. But there's this window that you can stay in that even if he initiates the electricity again, if you hit him fast enough, it brings it right back down. So the key to this boss, once initiating that first visceral, is to staying as aggressive as you possibly can. And if you are still having issues, try using a saw weapon. As I have stated in earlier videos, all beasts are weak to two things: saw weapons and fire. So if the weapon you're using just isn't cutting it, try using a saw weapon that is on the same level of whichever one you were using, and it should give you that extra boost that you need to push you through to beating the boss. That's it for the Darkbeast. Honestly, if you just stay close and just be very aggressive, you should have no problems defeating this boss. I can't speak for the camera angles, however. That's it for this video, guys. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe for anything about anything. I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. And make sure to stay tuned for our next boss, which is going to be Rom the Vacuous Spider, which will be our first arcane boss of the game. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see y'all next time.